We hear a lot of perspectives on the Mankind podcast. Inclusion of a guest is not an endorsement of their views, and the opinions expressed here do not always represent the mission or values of the Mankind Project USA.
Looks like the rain has gone.
G'day and welcome to the Mankind Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Clift. Now, in this work, in the world of men's work, and I judge if you're listening to this episode, you're probably aware of what it means to have a mission in life. Something that is driving us towards the North Star, the thing that we want to achieve in this phase of our lives or for our entire lives. And with that, in order to get there, motivation is necessary. But how do we find motivation? What is motivation? Is it an inexhaustible resource, or is it something that we have to build, that we have to work on? Is it a daily habit or practice? Is that necessary to be able to keep the motivation gears ticking, to make sure that we're constantly fueling the engine that's driving us towards the end goal, whatever that may be for you? Well, Ryan Tuckwood is joining us on the podcast to talk just about that, what his Motivational North Star is and what drives him. Now, why have we brought Ryan on? Well, Ryan is an international speaker. He is the CEO of his company, SWISH Sales Coaching. He is an incredibly impressive bloke who's been able to achieve remarkable things in a very short period of time. And he puts it all down to getting clear on what his why is. Now, Ryan has, with his previous business partner, Jack Corbett, they were able to get on Australian Shark Tank, in which they were able to secure 3 investments from 3 different sharks into their sales coaching method, which is SWISH, which stands for Selling with Integrity and Selling Honestly. In this episode, you're going to hear Ryan's story of coming from humble beginnings in Leicester to a mother who was a cleaner and a father who was a factory worker, and how his goal today, above all else, is to help his parents retire. You're going to hear also about his journey and trying to figure out what it means to balance his relationship with his clients and also his relationship at home with his wife and his kids, and how it's so easy for him to spend that time and energy at the workplace, but admittedly, he can struggle sometimes when he comes home. We also talk about the importance of creating a third space outside of work, outside of home, in which you can focus on relaxation, resetting, and recovering so that you can get back to being just truly who you are at your core. We also cover that when it comes to your mission and when you have the motivation and the goal is clear, that being ambitious and mission-driven does not have to be detrimental to your health and your family life. Ryan is a very impressive bloke. He's a dear friend of mine, and I'm grateful to have him on the show. If you want to find out more about Ryan, we'll have links in the show notes where you can find his interviews with iconic figures in the business world, such as the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, as well as he spent time with Grant Cardone from the 10X Rule. You can also find out his podcast, The Swish Show, and his Facebook group, where all budding sales folk are able to join and learn directly from the source of their incredible methods that are impacting the lives of countless people. You can also find out his LinkedIn and find out his Instagram accounts as well. Those will be linked in the show notes, but I want to let you get stuck into this interview with Ryan Tuckwood. Enjoy. G'day guys, Brandon Clift here from the Mankind Project, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mankind Podcast, where each and every week we break the molds of modern manhood to prove to you that there is more than just one way to be a man. Today I am joined by the founder of the SWISH Sales Coaching Company. Sorry if I botched that, mate. Intros aren't always my strongest suit. I always try and get bold and throw them out there. But Ryan Tuckwood, a longtime friend, and I'm a big fan of your work and what you've been able to achieve over the past years since we've met, since I've been following you on your journey. Mate, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to start digging into today's content matter, which is finding your motivational North Star. Ryan, take it away, mate.
Oh, I like that. Your motivational North Star. Thanks, mate. Great to reconnect. It's been a long time. My name is Ryan Tuckwood. I am the CEO and co-founder here at SWISH Sales Coaching. For the last 6 years, we've been endeavoring to change the perception of sales around the globe. So proving to people that you don't need to lie, bully, manipulate, inflate, or exaggerate to be successful in business and or sales. And 6,500 clients later, clients across 5 different continents. We've been able to do that en masse. It's a true passion of mine. Why? Because I was, as you know, a failing salesperson when I first got into the industry back in 2010. So background was engineering in the UK for 8 years, moved over here as a backpacker, fell into sales kicking and screaming, hated it, failing miserably, and then went on a journey, which we'll probably go through at some stage today there, where I had the epiphany and the penny drops that sales, just like engineering, is actually a process that anybody can learn. And for me, it's just about telling your truth better. It's not about manipulating, persuading, or convincing. It's about inspiring people to take action. And that brings us to where we are today. As I'd say version 9.632. We've changed, we've innovated, and now we have an online asset that we call the SWISH Academy that enables us to impact people all around the world.
You know, it's been interesting. I think we met back in 2016, and just I mean, that doesn't seem like a long time in the grand scheme of things, but really to think about what you've been able to achieve in that period of time, just that very short period, it's been, you know, nothing short of remarkable, mate. Being able to cheer from afar back here. I mean, getting onto Shark Tank and getting 3 of 5 judges to jump on and invest, and that, you know, they believed in this mission that you have with Swish, and many other awards and accolades that have come with that. One thing that I admire most about that, Ryan, is, you know, people instantly can look at those achievements and go, wow, like that's, you know, you got to be superhuman to be able to get up in front of, you know, all those judges on Shark Tank and try and pitch something like that. But having watched the episode a couple times, I would dare say that more than anything, they were investing in you as an individual, and Jack, your business partner at the time. They saw the human beings behind it. They saw an element of humility. Now, this is me from my point of view. That's what I believe they were seeing first and foremost, and that's all I've ever gotten from you. Is you know, you and I are very much the same. We like to dress loud, proud, with funky blazers and shoes and haircuts. But I believe, you know, and please correct me if I'm wrong if I speak for the two of us, there's just this undercurrent of humility that's always there. So I'm curious, like, what do you chalk that up to? Was it your upbringing? Was it the experiences you've had, like being a backpacker and kind of finding your way through sales? What would you put that down to?
Firstly, you're spot on with the Sharks buy-in. Like, I've asked them that question since, like, why did you buy into the business? We were 2 English sales trainers from the Gold Coast, which instantly raises sales defenses in itself. So, like, what were you buying into? And I remember it was Andrew said that we buy into people. So first and foremost, we buy into people. They've got ideas, they've got businesses, and if they get the right people around them, they can plug those people into another idea, even if ours doesn't work, right? So they bought us first. So what do I put that down to? Mate, I've got, and you said to me that this is about being raw, right? This is about being open. And I've had this conversation with a few people. Rightly or wrongly, I'm a people pleaser, and it's actually one of my intentions to not be a people pleaser this year. I don't know how you feel about that, right? But so I've got this innate desire to never upset people. Where that comes from, I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. I was always bored up. Everybody's got a story, right? But my mum was a cleaner. My dad worked in a factory. So we definitely weren't from any sort of affluent background. No business ambition or entrepreneurial edge at all. So I was just taught that treat people right, and manners was always a really big thing. Like, be polite and courteous and respectful of everybody. So that's kind of how I've just always lived my life. Like, I'm obsessed with the 1%ers and giving people a great experience. I love the quote, always give your clients more than they expect to get. So don't just just give them to meet expectations. Always be looking to exceed and wow, which should go without saying. So maybe somehow that comes across came across on Shark Tank, even though I was wearing a sharp suit, and Jack, more so than me, is linguistically talented, right? So he can definitely present our business in the right light, whereas I was a quivering, shaking mess out the back because I didn't actually want to go on because I was terrified of them. Still secretly terrified of them now, but more of an admiration and respect, right? 2 years down the line. So, yeah, I don't know if that's a scientific answer or helps anybody, but I think it was just, maybe it was upbringing, just respect people and treat people the way that you would like to be treated.
Sure. You can't turn off that engineering part of the brain, can you?
No.
So I want to ask you, about what drives you. I'm sure there's many things, but over the years, the iterations that I've heard you share about what does drive you, there's been one common thread, which has been, a mission that you have for your parents, who are still back in the UK. And I know that your dad's had some health struggles over the past couple of years. So mate, tell us a little bit of background around that, and give us kind of like the full scope as to what drives you internally outside of results for, your clients.
Yeah. So, my dad, unfortunately back in 2001, got diagnosed with esophagus cancer. And he had a 22 or 23 hour surgery in the UK, which is one of the longest in history, single surgeries, with 3 surgeons operating him on shifts. And he basically, through that, there's a long court battle because he got given too much radiotherapy as well. So they actually burnt half his face away. So he's highly disfigured. He hasn't been able to work since then. But fortunately, regardless of all that, he's still with us. And he's been able to see, I want to say 8 grandkids grow up in that time, of which when we started, he had none, 2 of which are now mine, or my kids, which is great. So because their life was set out very traditional, shall we say, right? They were paying their mortgage off. My sister was 20 at the time that he got diagnosed. I was 18. My younger brother was 13 or 14. And it was, the kids are growing up. As soon as Joe, my youngest brother, had flown the nest, that was mum and dad's time, sell the house. They just wanted to get a caravan, travel around the coast of England, and that was how they were going to live their life. So I always felt that got taken away from them for no fault of their own, with the illness. Because with anybody that's been through that, both the person that's suffering and also the people around them, they might relate that with that comes a lot of depression. Like we got to the stage where we had to take all of the mirrors out of the house. So my dad physically didn't have to see himself. And then that started to obviously have a knock-on effect with my mum. My sister got into a depression as well. And I'm like, one of us, it wasn't really a conscious decision at the time, but maybe something inside was saying one of us needs to somehow do something financially to set the family up. I didn't know what it was at the time. So I got to the age of 27. So 7 years later, about 9 years later, and I had my quarter life crisis where I decided to leave the UK, with the backing of my parents, and based around the fact that they'd never taken any risks, and they were playing everything safe. And bearing in mind what they'd been through, Dad was very much like, no, go and do this, because if you don't, you'll live with regrets and life's too short. So jumped on a plane, and obviously as this journey's kind of evolved, I saw it as an opportunity now for me to set my family up, even though I didn't see that at the start, because I was failing and sleeping in the bathroom floor. So now my overarching life goal, or my life must, became, initially it was to move my parents over here to Australia and give them the retirement that I believe they deserve. But obviously with COVID and everything that's happened, there's a few things that we can't control. And then having honest conversations with my parents as well around whether they really want that. Do they want to leave the rest of their family and my brother and sister and their their kids? So now the goal is to set them up for retirement regardless. And that hasn't changed. Obviously from another driver perspective would be now me having a 2-year-old boy and an 11-week-old boy, and to make them proud. So not just to give to them and to provide and just give them money, but to set an example that they can follow. And I think that probably coincides with a lot of the values that I hold on a day-to-day basis, the way that I try to conduct myself, the way I expect the team to conduct themselves. And that starts with setting the example, so I can then hopefully be the inspiration that they follow suit in whatever capacity they want to go, you know?
I can't help but notice when you talk about kind of those drivers and all the different moving pieces when it comes to what you're working for, that a lot of what you speak about is not so much here's what I'm going to do to make that happen. It's here's who I want to be. Here's who I need to be. Here's how I need to behave to make that a reality. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And that was something that I wasn't aware of. Like up until the age of 29, I'd never invested in personal development. Like it was a world that it was so alien to me. I would never pay money to work on me, right? Or invest in me would be a better phrase. And since then, I've invested just over $300,000. And I don't know where you want this to go, but rightly or wrongly, in the last year or so, I'm not religious, but I'm getting more spiritual, and I don't even know what that means when I say that, right?
Sure.
But I'm getting deeper into myself, and this year is a year of working on me. I'm starting to look into breath work and I don't know, like things that I used to think were really fluffy, right? And the reason that I think I want to and I desire to do that is because right now we're at a stage of the business where I've got to become a leader or a better leader of people to inspire them to become the best versions of themselves. And to do that, I need to become the best version of me. And that's inside. That's not outside. That's not what I wear. That's who I am and who I become. So there is definitely a conscious change of direction for me in doing that. And I can already see it having a knock-on effect with how I respond to situations, how I react to hurdles and challenges as well. So it's definitely been beneficial.
Speaking of hurdles and challenges, it's you've got your dream for your parents, giving them a great retirement, and you've got being a great role model for your boys and your wife Alicia. What has the ability to shake you and get in the way, create let's say a fog that makes those drivers a little bit foggy at times and makes it hard to kind of stay focused on where you're heading?
Awesome question. Maybe my intention this year, people pleasing. So I need to get out of my own way and realize that not everybody's going to love me. Not everybody's going to like every single piece of content I put out there. Not everyone's going to like my podcast or like this one right now. They might have tuned off already for whatever reason. And that's okay. I don't need to be loved by everybody. So that has allowed me to focus on who I spend my time with and reduce my exposure to people that are not adding value to my life or actually bringing a negativity into my life. So that's a conscious decision now on who I surround myself with. And that has been really, really hard because then it means you have to have tough conversations with people and be really, really brutal and honest with people. And that's not always well received. But since I've been able to do that, I've got so much clarity. And I hopefully would also argue that my team have never had so much clarity in the vision of where we're going as a business and the impact we're trying to have.
Yeah, people pleasing is a tough one. It's a really tough one. It's that kind of Mr. Nice Guy syndrome that, a lot of people are talking about more these days, which is, it's not to say be an asshole. It's to say every time you say yes to something, what are you saying no to? Like your team, your family, the things that you mentioned before that drive you, that really are your sole purpose. Sometimes being the nice guy and saying yes to all these other things can really be at the cost of of what's important, but it is hard.
Yeah,
especially if you like people.
if I relate that to in a relationship scenario, and I'm sure there's people will be able to resonate with this. Something Alicia said to me at the back end of last year really hit home for me. That I get all these. This comes across the right way. We've got what we call raving fans, right? We get great reviews. We've got repeat clients that have been with us for 4, 5, 6 years. They love what they do. They come and they do a session with us, and then they walk away and they're totally inspired. And then Alicia goes, "I never see that person."
If you're enjoying the Mankind podcast, how about taking another step? Now, this one takes some courage, and you have it. Come check out the Men's Work Introduction. It's 3 sessions over 3 weeks, with new sessions starting every month, where you can join other men on the path. You can find out more about the Men's Work course in the show notes.
So when I get home, I almost switch off from that positive, inspirational person that I want to be for my family, and she doesn't get it. And it's like, why? Why am I doing that? And it's like, is it because I don't feel like I need to prove myself to Alicia anymore? Is it not, am I not working on the relationship every day, which we should be? Because for clients, we constantly talk about our wow factor and the 1%ers, and we go, how can we improve the experience at every stage of the interaction for our clients? I've never done that for my relationship. Wow. Why not? And
Go, continue.
And then I found a book called The Third Space by a guy called Adam Fraser. I don't know if you've read that or heard of him.
Not yet.
It's there's a great video on YouTube that kind of comprises the whole message. But in a nutshell, it's about we have workspace, we have home space, and we need to create that third space in the middle to actually switch off, reset, and make sure that we bring the best when we get home, or whatever the transition is, right? So you could take it to a business capacity and say, you've just had a bad phone call, right? You've tried to make a sale, it didn't work. You then carry that energy into the next call. What you need to do is have an ability to find that third space and reset to go and give the best that you can on to the next person. So me and Alicia had a conversation about it. I'm like, all I need when I get home, just give me 5 minutes. Let me go and get changed. Let me get out of this work attire. And I love dressing up anyway, right? So it's not like I need to switch off from work, because I love it, which is where I got cloudy with this. But I just need 5 minutes to go reset and then come downstairs and then be in family mode. And then you'll get the best of me. And you've got me from 5:30 till 8. And my day is structured, really set that family time is 5:30 till 8. And then 8 o'clock until midnight, I'm back working again. And it was very much communicated that is my day. Do we do it every single day? No. But is that the North Star? Is that where we want to be? So just being aware of what that is allows me to go, oh, hold on. I just need to get that third space. And she knows what I mean by that. And now I can switch off and then switch back on again.
How great that Alicia spoke up about that. You know, it's so interesting that I see it all the time in men's work, and especially I see it a lot of examples in the Mankind Project. Is it's so easy to be a superstar in the boardroom at times, and we can be a superstar at the beach in our boxer short, in our board shorts, but then in the bedroom, it's not always the case if that connection isn't there, if that same effort isn't there, and that's the challenge. I think there's a lot of people think that personas are these things where we're not being authentic. We put on these capes or these suits or these masks to perform in a certain way to get a certain result. And I don't think that necessarily is a bad thing. Sometimes we need those personas to run onto the football field and kick the winning goal. Sometimes we need to assume that. But what does it mean when the mask I use in the boardroom gets dragged into the bedroom? Does that get in the way of that link between me and my partner versus the link that I'm having with all these people throughout the day?
Because then if you take your corporate hat and you continue to wear it on the way home, you almost become quite clinical and business-like at home as well. And you take the emotion out of why you got together in the first place. You didn't meet your partner saying, okay, I'm really looking forward to spending 3 hours an evening with you for the rest of my life. And hopefully we'll get a bit of time to have some fun in there as well. That's not the way you do it. But if you flip that over as well, Alicia's a mum, and she's a working mum. She's got her own business. So she works, she then has the baby. When I get home, she also needs her third space. So it works both ways. So I was getting probably selfish without knowing I was being selfish by coming in, and she'd be like, can you just take him for 5 minutes? And I'd be like, I've been coaching all day. Like I've been on my feet all day. I've not had a chance to stop. And now I've got this crying baby, and it's everybody's playing this game, right? So I think the key there is communication and going, okay, right, so we know this is something we need to work on. How and where does it fit into our day-to-day structure? And knowing that it's not always going to happen, but that would be the ideal scenario.
Yeah. The ideal scenario, but it doesn't always pan out or play out that way, right? Relationships will always be messy, but I love the awareness that you have around it, at least to identify, hey, it may not be an overnight fix, but this is something that we can address early. And kudos to her for speaking up, which is amazing. I want to ask you, being in the public eye so much now. I mean, I follow your emails and your content and all this video stuff. Do you ever have moments where you just want to just hide and not be seen and not speak up and just kind of be in your own space when you're not out there and promoting this mission that you have with Swish?
Yeah, probably more so than the other. I'm probably more 90% want to hide, 10% want to be out there. So I think you know this. Like I'm an introvert by nature. I'm an extrovert by dress. But I like to say, I like to be. Hold on, I'm choking. I'm just recovering from a bit of a cough as well. Hold on. This is good in live, right? Hope you're enjoying watching this, guys. I always say I like to be the best dressed person sitting in a room by myself. Sure. and I don't know what. So, like I've got this weird, what we call stretched behavior, where I'm a conscientious person, where I'm very regimented, very structured. I'm very much an introvert, like to keep myself to myself. But I've learned to live in the influencer world, if we use disc profiling as an example. So I've learned to live on stage. I've learned to live in front of the camera and actually enjoy it. How do I enjoy it? It's because I've trained to do it, and I've got systems in place to allow me to still be authentically me, actually relax, but also maintain a level of control at all times, apart from when I'm choking. So yeah, do I want to hide away? Heaps. I've got a full-time videographer here, Jackson, that as soon as this stops, I know there's a chance that he'll just come running in straight away and he'll want to film me. And I'm just like, mate, I want my third space, right? That's 1-5 to reset. So, yeah, I do get that a lot. And I still get a level of, and people probably won't believe this, but I get a level of apprehension, a level of anxiety around networking, around still putting content out. But what I do know is that for every piece of content I put out there, I might get 2 or 3 people that will give me some friendly abuse or some negativity about it, but one person will be impacted. And that has given me an overarching desire to continue doing this regardless now, because I know that 6 years in, or probably only about 2.5 years in to really producing content consistently, that it's impacting more people than I was before, right? So it keeps me motivated to do it.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. So you're on this spiritual journey at the moment, and learning to see the magic in the fluff.
Yes, yeah.
I'm the same. I came from, like, if there was anyone that I was gonna turn up on Sunday to see every week, it was going to be Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like, I love science. I love explaining things, but yes. I too am learning the more I sit with plant medicine, and the more I travel around the world from different cultures, that there could possibly be something else out there, and I'm best not to live with blinders on. So take this question however you will, but say there is a God, and you're standing there at the pearly gates. What do you want him to say to you as to how you spent your time on earth?
Well done. You had the impact you desired, or you created a movement, and you've left something behind, whether that be a legacy, whatever a legacy is, but you're known for something. I guess the easier way is to look at the opposite to that, where they just open the gates and they just push you in, and you're just a number, and then they don't actually stop you on the way through and go, "Oh, Ryan, wow, but mate, well done down there, right? Like, that was pretty impressive, that innings. In you go, enjoy." Like, just a little acknowledgement, because I spoke about this. I was fortunate last year to MC was it last year, 2019, the end of 2019, before we went into lockdowns, to MC the Young Entrepreneur Awards, which you've obviously been at as well. And I said to everybody there that infrequently, as the owner of a business, as a leader, does anybody pat you on the back? There's nobody looking that you're constantly patting your team on the back and you're saying well done and constant reinforcement and trying to keep them motivated. But if there's nobody above you, for want of a better phrase, there's nobody really going, do you know what? I'm watching what you're doing every day and I'm proud of you. So when nobody's watching, I was watching, and I get it. And I think business owners get that, because we all know what it takes to drive a successful business. And it's not 9 to 5, and it's not watching Netflix every single evening. It is truly going above and beyond. So if I got up to those gates, mate, and somebody said, well done, we've seen it all. You did it with integrity, and you did create a movement, and your family are really proud of you. Job done for me.
What's the greatest piece of advice you've ever been given?
I don't know if it was advice, but Harry, one of my public speaking coach, said to me, you have absolutely no idea what your potential is. And just that one sentence just got me thinking. Obviously got me thinking, what is my potential? So it was probably more similar to the Sharks, right? They don't really give advice. They just challenge my thinking.
Yeah. It's open, very open-ended.
Yeah, very much guided discovery. So for somebody to say, you have no idea what your potential is, like Dave Goggins' theory that we're only ever working at 40% of capacity, like, it's like, I almost want to go, no, I can get to 80%. And then by default, I push myself harder because that's just in my nature, just to try and prove him wrong. So yeah, I think being told that I have no idea what my potential is. And then Glenn Richards said to us that their job is to raise our line of sight, is to get us looking up and out and not down and in. So I want you to consistently be looking outside of the business, look 3 years ahead, but work for today. And I think those bits of advice or guidance has really stuck with me.
Nice. What kind of
actually, sorry, I've got one more, Brandon. It was somebody, it was one of our clients actually said it. I don't think it was direct advice, but he commented on one of my Facebook posts recently. My son, unfortunately, my newborn, as we spoke about before, got viral meningitis over Christmas. And he said to me, Ryan, you have many, many goes at running a business, but you only get one chance at raising a family. And that, in the moment of everything that was going on and watching my 7-week-old boy at the time, like, be on a resus table with 10 doctors and nurses all around him, was like, yeah, okay, so I need to consciously be aware of the time that I'm spending away from my family, because I've got one shot at this, right? I can always come back in and reinvigorate a business. Yeah, there's the argument that it could go under in that time, but you know what I mean? So that was really good advice, even though it was just an off-the-cuff comment that's really stuck with me.
And so one final question for you before I ask you how we can support you on your mission. What kind of world do you want to raise your boys in?
I'm a big believer in focusing on what you can control. So I don't think rightly or wrongly, I don't think I can control the world that we live in on a macro scale. I don't want to hide them away from things. I want them to know the reality of the world that we live in. So it'd be more so almost full circle on what we spoke about earlier, is not what world do I want to raise them in, but who do I want them to become in that world? So that would be to follow suit and be people of integrity, people that want to make an impact. And making an impact might be that they go out, they get a job, and they be the best employee they can be for that organization. They might want to be a sports superstar. I like Andrew Banks, another one of our investors, was in here last Friday, and he said to us, you're all unrepeatable miracles. You're unrepeatable miracles. Why would you not want to be the best that you can be every single day? So I'd want to raise my kids to know that and just try to be the best that they can be every single day. Show up, be humble, and know that being ambitious and being driven doesn't have to be detrimental to your family life as well. I think there's a misconception there that, we fly all around the country and we're trying to grow the business. that we're money driven and we're focused on just being affluent. I know so many business owners that when you get to the core of the conversations, and you would have had this with many people, there's purpose as well as profit, right? People say, is there purpose over profit? I think they can go hand in hand, right? And that's what you asked about mission. That's what we're trying to do. And that's the type of people that I would like my kids to become.
Beautiful, Ryan. Well, mate, I mean, I could sit here for 8 hours and just keep asking you questions, mate. A lot of value there. Thank you for taking the time, mate. Look, so give us, for those that may just be jumping in and joining us, we are live as we record this, mate. What is your current mission right now, and how can we as a community support you in that mission?
So the business in its entirety is we've changed direction a lot over the years, which is, I think, is why it's still so exciting 6 years in, right? Is that we're always innovating. I'm not going to use the word pivot because it drives me crazy. So after a really good 2020, ironically, with building some really strong foundations, our mission this year is twofold. It's to impact as many people around the globe as possible. I know that sounds fluffy and cheesy, but we're in a very good position to do that with an online asset. So teaching people near and far that sales is one of the most noblest skills or attributes that you can ever acquire. Having the ability to inspire somebody to take action is one of the most fulfilling skills that you will ever attain. So impact people is number one, and then to build a community with it as well. So not just be coaching individually, but to bring all of those people together, because there's power in community and there's power in movement. And what I love about what we've done over the years is the amount of people that have partnered, JV'd, they've gone into business together, they've offered jobs, they've taken jobs, and we want to take that to another level this year.
Fantastic. How can we find you and follow your progress?
As you know, I'm pretty much on every single platform. It just depends what you're looking for specifically. If you want to see baby spam and family photos, follow me on Instagram. If you want a more professional corporate Ryan, then jump on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn as well. From a business perspective, just simply Google SWISH Sales Coaching. That's selling with integrity and selling honestly.
Fantastic, mate. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm going to get you to hang around for a hot second. But for those of you that have been joining us live this evening, thank you again for joining us with your attention, with your ears. Thank you for checking in, for those of you in the comments. And I hope you guys were able to gain some insights for yourselves of what your motivational North Star can be for you. Look, not all of us are motivated by the external flashy things in life. You know, it may not be the car, the house, the images of success that we've been raised. For some of us, and for most of us, I dare argue all of us, there's something unique there that wants to push us forward or pull us forward. And I encourage you, spend more time seeking those answers inward than outward. Ryan, you're a great example of that, mate. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Mankind Podcast, produced in association with the Mankind Project USA. We have been your hosts, Paul Newell, Boyson Hodgson, and myself, Brandon Clift, and we want to thank our guests for joining us today and imparting their wisdom from their experiences in this amazing journey called life. If you want to find out more about today's guests and support them in their mission, you can find links to them in the show notes. Now, if you have found gold and insights that you believe could benefit your loved ones and those you care about, be sure to share it with them. And of course, we are always grateful for a rating and review of the show on iTunes. Now, we've got to give special thanks to our back-end team, producer, editor, and audio ninja for the show, Michael J. Russer, and Don Huff, who takes care of our graphics and promotions and pretty much makes us look pretty. So, of course, thank you, Don. Now, above all else, we've got to thank you, the listener. Because through your attention and your support, you have made it possible for us to let men all over the world know that they are not alone and that there is more than one way to be a man. And if something in this episode has touched you, then perhaps it is the call to action to get involved in men's work. With live trainings happening constantly and in-person trainings happening all over the world, the Mankind Project definitely has something for you. Now, if you've enjoyed the music in this episode and all of our episodes, be sure to check out Jim Donovan and the Sun King Warriors. I have links to them in the show notes. And lastly, just know, What it means to me to be a man is completely different than what it means for you. What it means for Paul, what it means for Boyson, that is the beauty of this journey. So if you are looking for guidance, support, and community as you begin to unpack and dive deeper into your men's work journey, then you know where to find us. Same place, same time, next week. Lots of love. We'll see you then.